Gilbert, let's talk about the other team in Los Angeles, the LA Rams. By the way, Gilbert, fun fact: there was only one free agent signing in by both teams in LA, and that was Eric Kendricks. No other free agent signing happened in the city of Angels. So definitely an interesting stat there. But now we move to the LA Rams, a team that kind of feels like they're rebuilding. Obviously, they won their Super Bowl. They won it at home. So, hey, you take a Super Bowl over all the problems that they have now. Jalen Ramsey traded. Bobby Wagner cut. Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp are still on this team. But Gilbert, give me some of the holes that you think the Rams need to address.
Yeah, I'm glad you said some, positions they need to fill because if I say all of them, it's gonna be a long show and it's
It's gonna be like
very
Santa's naughty or nice list.
pretty much, and it's very inexperienced on the defensive side. And I wouldn't be surprised if this team is tanking for Caleb Williams or Drake May, right, from North Carolina. But they have some talent there, with the Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald to be somewhat in the mix, maybe like 7 wins. I don't know, and that might take you out of the race for first or whatever, second, whatever you want there. So, you know what? Let me narrow it down. And I'm gonna start off with offense, and I'm gonna end on defense because there's so many holes on defense. And like I mentioned, they already have Kupp there, and Stafford, and your boy Stetson Bennett. I guess we'll see what happens with him.
There you go.
But I am still surprised they are banking on Joe Nopum to be the left tackle, the starting left tackle. He really struggled in his first year to be the full-time tackle to replace Andrew Whitworth. And I know they got some help on the offensive line, but that was Steve Avila is more for the interior. I think they got a tackle later on, but how's that going to help you? And you see like the team like the Chiefs. You mentioned it a while ago, Fernando, or at least off air. How the Chiefs got Donovan Smith, right, to play left tackle, a veteran guy. At least, get some insurance there while you see if Joe Nopum just you rupture his Achilles. Going to be ready for week one. I know Alaric Jackson was okay as a tackle there, but also he had like a pulmonary embolism or maybe like a blood clot, and that's also risky. Like, you're banking on two guys coming off of injury. So that to me is very concerning. I don't know how you feel about that, Fernando. Guy, just waiting for your left tackle to be, healthy. And like they got to have some kind of veteran experience, right, at the tackle position.
Yeah, no, you have to go get somebody at least, just in case. I mean, you just never know what's gonna happen. But also, not just that, the fact that you like you said he struggled. Maybe you bring in a veteran to kind of get in his ear and maybe help him out a little bit. But yeah, it is a little concerning that they're waiting for that because we already saw what happened to Matthew Stafford last year, and we've talked about it all off season. They need to protect Matthew Stafford if they're serious about obviously having a good season, but at the same time as well protecting your quarterback. They need to protect him.
Yeah, so it could be a long year for Matthew Stafford, who he's not a human's jugs machine anymore. That's what he said. He lost some zip on that fastball, but hopefully for
Wow,
him, he's doing okay.
that's
But
surprising that somebody would like a quarterback would admit that.
yeah, but it was noticeable on the field, and they weren't really attacking down the field. So it's going to be a very different offense. I think they're going to play a lot of quick game and sideline to sideline kind of stuff, not pushing down the field, which could be a disaster. But we'll figure it out once we see the Rams in action. And then moving to defense, it's a lot. I mean, Victor have been talking about it in House of Horns. Check out House of Horns. Shout out if you watched the draft recap. We saw some comments and some good views there, so we appreciate that. And yeah, it's going to be a very inexperienced edge rushing group, and I think it's a critical position on an NFL roster. And when you're going to rely on Michael Hoyt, who confirmed he's going to be playing full-time edge rusher, like it got so bad last year for now that they were hurting an edge rusher. They just told Michael Hoyt, you're kind of like in behind the depth chart on the interior defensive line. We like what you're doing in practice. You want to just give it a try at edge, and he actually balled out. So you're going to give him another chance there. But he was an undrafted guy. I don't know. You can't expect that guy to be your number one edge rusher. And then Byron Young, I want to say he was a third round draft pick out of Tennessee, a good edge rusher. I've seen some good highlights on him. Victor compared on Leonard Floyd, but when you're kind of on the slimmer side and you get to rely more on athleticism, it kind of takes you a while to get used to the powerful tackles in the NFL. So they're gonna be really hurting an edge rusher. But Fernando, I guess, have you heard of these guys, Byron Young and Michael Hoyt? Because it might be a struggle for the edge rushers.
Michael Hoyt had like 7 sacks last year, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I remember you talked about him. I remember. Oh, you know what? When Vic was out and I covered for him at House of Horns, I remember you mentioned him a couple of times, and I saw a little bit of film from him, and I thought like he was explosive, uses his hands well. So obviously I'm not a Dan and Dago scout, but I saw the way he used his hands, and I thought that was pretty interesting to see. So yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you can't get to the quarterback, you're just gonna let him chill back there, and he's gonna have all day to kind of carve you up. So I definitely think that and especially in the division that the Rams play, I mean, you're gonna need to get you're gonna need to rush the passer, especially because this year they play the Eagles, the Saints. Even though I mean, Derek Carr is still, if he has time, he's gonna be able to pick you apart. They play the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay Packers again, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Indianapolis Colts. So all these guys, you're going to need to be able to rush the passer. If not, you're going to get picked apart. So pass rush is a need for the Rams.
Yeah, and the more I discuss this roster, the more I think about they might be in the race for Caleb Williams, but it's hard
I
to
already
kind
told
of
you.
yeah,
If it's a 2-for-1 deal,
it'd be pretty nice.
if Caleb Williams gets drafted to the Rams, that USC head coach might become. If Sean McVay goes to TV, he could be elevated too. Just
There you
saying.
go. But by the way, Stetson Bennett was, I think, the first quarterback draft pick for Sean McVay and his time with the Rams. I did not know that stat until a
Really?
couple days ago. So they really like the kid. But yeah, quarterback is not a need
Kid.
unless Stafford arm falls off in camp. But we'll see. And then the last one, I know there's a lot of holes in the safety cornerback group. They have some young guys in Kobe Durant, Darion Kendrick, your boy Russ Yeast, Quinton Lake. So some promising guys, very young, but we'll see. I'm just confused about inside linebacker. I know you don't play as many linebackers anymore. It's a devalued position. And last year, Ernest Jones, he's the one quality starter on inside linebacker or even player. Ernest Jones had to wait behind. He was supposed to be a promising second-year player, but he had to wait for Bobby Wagner. He just said, you know what, get out of here, kid. I'm going to take all your snaps. When you go into whatever nickel or dime, you don't play a second linebacker. And he was just waiting on the bench for personnel reasons. Now they have nobody behind them to make it up to the kid because you have no competition. Go play all the snaps there. So, Fernando, if you look at the depth chart at inside linebackers, a bunch of special team players. And Ernest Jones, he's got to stay healthy because you're going to be really hurting an inside linebacker. But I don't know what to make of it because, again, like I mentioned, personnel-wise, you don't rely on the linebackers too much nowadays.
Yeah, and Ernest might have learned a thing or two from Bobby Wagner, so definitely that should play a part in it. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and Bobby played. I mean, even though it was his, I think it was like his 10th season, he still played really well. He was ball hawking, sacks, making all these tackles. So yeah, you could tell why Ernest kind of had to take a back seat. But now that it's his show, he better step up because if not, there's definitely somebody behind him ready to take a spot, like you said. Kalichi. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try that last name. But yeah, it's like you said, like there's a lot of players there that are special teams players, but hey, you never know when one can jump out and actually make some noise. So Ernest better be ready to go because if not, there's always somebody waiting behind you to take your spot.
There you have it, Fernando. Roster holes for the Rams, and I was being generous. I could have just had the whole defense and even wide receivers kind of a
Except
little
for defensive tackle.
yeah, besides the one, but even his teammates in there are pretty bad too. But yeah, when you have Aaron Donald, he's like having three guys. So you're right, maybe that one. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. The more we're gonna have to discuss this eventually. Victor, producer, do you tank or do you kind of just see how things go and let the chips fall where they may? But we'll see.